I want to take a look at the 18th chapter of the Acts, which is called the Acts of the Apostles, or the Acts of the Holy Spirit. 18th chapter of that Acts, of that book. I want to read the 5th and 6th verses and then 9 through 11. When Silas and Timothy were come from Macedonia, Paul was pressed in the spirit and testified to the Jews that Jesus was Christ. And when they opposed themselves and blasphemed, he shook his raiment and said unto them, your blood be upon your own head. I'm clean from henceforth. I will go unto the Gentiles. And then drop down to the 9th verse. Then spake the Lord to Paul in the night by vision, be not afraid, but speak and hold not thy peace. For I am with thee, and no man shall set on thee to hurt thee. For I have much people in this city. And he continued there a year and 6 months teaching the word of God among them. Take somebody by the hand and tell them it's too soon to quit. It's too soon to quit. This particular passage of Scripture, and I'm sure that sometime during your study you have read this Scripture, it really pictures the closing event of Paul's second missionary journey. You know, Paul made 3, and this is closing out the second journey. Verse 1 of this chapter, if you back up, verse 1 of this chapter says that Paul departed from Athens, and you know, in Athens is where he spoke on Mars Hill. You'll remember that. But it says that he departed from Athens and came to Corinth, and so he leaves a city. It was the city of Athens. He leaves a city that is known for its idolatry. And he arrives in a city that was known for its immorality. So he leaves a city of idolatry and arrives in a city of immorality. And you remember, Bible students, when the people wanted to describe corruption at its worst, they said they act as those who lived at Corinth. One writer seeking really to capture the terrible condition of Corinth says that those folk in Corinth, they love money, they drank deep from the fountain of pleasure. They rocked in the chair of luxury. They wallowed in the mire of vice, and they lived for the things that were seen and temporal. And it was to that city, the city of Corinth, that Paul brought the gospel of Jesus Christ. But what I want you to notice here today is that the Paul who arrived in Corinth was a different Paul than the Paul who arrived in Athens. When you look back into chapter 17, somewhere around verse 16, when Paul arrived in Athens, his spirit was provoked. In Athens, he was outraged because he saw a city that was wholly given to idolatry. And so Paul you remember, pulled up his sleeves and took on the whole city of Athens. But when he arrived in Corinth, verse 5 there in chapter 18 says that he was pressed in the spirit. In other words, the burning flames of his enthusiasm had been rained on. When he arrived in Athens, he was provoked. But when he arrived in Corinth, he was depressed. There's a difference in being provoked and being depressed. Do I have a witness here? When he arrived in Corinth, really, to really describe it, he had a serious case of the blues. Anybody ever had the blues in here? Maybe. Well, you all not saying anything. Maybe you don't know what the blues is. In other words, when he arrived in Corinth, Paul was down in the dumps. He was a different Paul from the one who arrived in Athens. And you can read it in Paul's own words over in 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 3. Paul says, I was with thee in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. Did you hear what I said? I was with thee in fear, in weakness, and in fear, and in much trembling. He had a serious case of the blues. He was a different Paul in Corinth than he was in Athens. Well, you asked the question today, well, what could cause a great preacher like Paul to have the blues? What could cause a great preacher like the Apostle Paul to be down in the dumps? Well, first of all, I believe that Paul was depressed because of a sense of failure. I believe that he was depressed. You remember back in chapter 17 when he arrived in Athens, he was preaching in the marketplace, and the philosophers met him in the marketplace, and they invited him to come up on Mars Hill. Do y'all remember that account? Stay with me here now. Paul stood there on Mars Hill and defended what the Athens called strange propaganda. You remember how they laughed at him. You remember how they jeered him. You remember how they mocked him on Mars Hill. And the laughter of those people cut Paul deeper than the stones at Lystra. I need some help here today. And so Paul left Mars Hill. He left, y'all, Mars Hill. And you might think that Paul was successful on Mars Hill. But I want to remind you that Paul left Mars Hill with a sense of failure. He failed there. And so, in other words, here were some people who laughed at the gospel. Well, you got some folk today doing that. Am I right? Not only in Paul's day, you got some folk now that's laughing at the gospel. And so Paul felt a sense of failure. But I think a second thing here, Paul had the blues. And Paul wanted to quit because he was suffering from a serious case of fatigue. In other words, Paul, what I'm saying was just plain old tired. And I believe that I believe it because these chapters say that on Sunday, Paul was preaching in the marketplace. And then from Monday to Friday, he was making tents. Am I right? And then on the Sabbath day, he took on the Jews in the synagogue. And you know, my brothers and sisters, there's just so much that these old bodies of ours can stand. Do I have a witness here? And when Paul arrived in Corinth, I believe that he had the blues because his body and his mind were tired. And somebody have stated so vividly that our souls and our bodies live so close together that they tend to catch one another's disease. In other words, the doctor will tell you, if the mind is sick, am I right, Sister Teresa? If the mind is sick, the body tends to catch the sickness of the mind. If the body is tired, you are not able to do your best thinking. Am I right? You know, if your body is tired, you know you'll say things that you didn't really mean. And the reason you say things that you didn't really mean is because you didn't have time to think things through. And a lot of folks speak when they ought to be quiet. Do I have a witness here? A whole lot of folks speak before they think. That's the thing that gets a whole lot of us in trouble. Sometimes you need to be quiet. Sometimes you need to simply shut up. Am I right? Before you start talking, rest your mind. So you can think. Do I have a witness? And so Paul had the blues, as I must move on. Paul had the blues because of the fact that he didn't feel like going on. And then thirdly, I believe that Paul had the blues because he was frustrated. Listen, failure, fatigue, that means being tired, and frustration. That was the 3 points I already gave them to you. I believe that his frustration was twofold. First of all, Paul was frustrated because of the continued organized opposition against him. That was frustrating. Somebody ought to help me here. You know, if you are a leader of people, it makes no difference about what position you're in, what profession that you're in. If you are a leader of people, organized opposition consistently and persistently will sometime wear you down. Do I have a witness? What are you saying, preacher? Well, every time you meet, you run into organized opposition. Every suggestion you make, you run into organized opposition. Do I have a witness? And there are some folk, they just oppose everything. That's the problem that I have with some folk in the church. You got some folk in the church, they oppose everything. Do I have a witness here? It don't matter nothing about what it is. I object. That's something, that's one word, that's all some folk know, is I object. They're against everything. And you got people in society like, you got folk in the community like that. And that if you are in a leadership position, organized opposition can wear you down. Everywhere Paul, listen, if you don't believe, everywhere Paul turned, the Judaizers and the Jews organized against him. If you don't remember, if you don't believe it, study the book. They stoned him at Lystra. The Philippian mafia put him in jail. Do I have a witness? He was ran out of Thessalonica. And when he got to Corinth, the man was tired. The man was wore out when he arrived. He was frustrated. And I believe Paul really here wanted to quit. I believe Paul wanted to give up. I believe that Paul wanted to throw in the towel. I believe that Paul wanted to walk away or run away or get away from it all. And I understand. And I understand he really didn't want to quit the ministry. He just wanted to quit Corinth. Somebody help me. Am I right? He just wanted to quit his assignment. If I could just get another start somewhere else, if I could get another place, another pulpit, if I could get another church, if I could get another people to lead, if I could get another position, I don't want to quit the ministry. I just want to quit my assignment. I just want to quit Corinth. I'm tired of Corinth. Get me out of Corinth. Well, Paul, I understand. I understand how you feel, Paul. Because, Paul, I've been there also. I can understand how you feel, Paul. I know how you feel. I can relate to really what you're saying, Paul, that you really want to give it up. You really want to quit. I understand that. But, Paul, I want to remind you something. You want to quit. But the Lord says, you can't quit. I know you want to quit. And you're not the only one who has that feeling. You're not alone, Paul. You are not by yourself. Some of us here today, some of us in this worship service have had that same feeling. Some of us have wanted to quit. Some of us have wanted to give up. Some of us have wanted to leave. Some of us have wanted to walk out. We can relate to you, Paul, because we have had that same feeling. And I just kind of believe that somebody today, that here today came with your mind made up. I just believe there's somebody in this audience today that arrived here today at the beginning of a new year. I just believe that somebody here have the feeling that have your mind made up because you got some circumstances nibbling. You got some circumstances, some conditions gnawing at you. Do I have a witness here? And you already, before you arrived here today, you had your mind made up when you got here. I believe I'm going to quit. I believe I'm going to give up. I believe I'm going to quit. Some young person sitting right here looking at me right now who's struggling right now with the moral issue. Struggling with the moral question. And underneath the skin, you feel you're dealing with internal conflict and impulses. You see your friends seemingly having all the fun. And here you are trying to hold on to some biblical principles that you got at your house and got at your church. And your friends are moving in a different direction and seem like some of them are getting along all right. And the more you hold on to your biblical principles, the more problems you're having and the more trouble seemingly you're having in your life. And a whole lot of times, your peers, when you're around your peers, you find yourself standing by yourself. And your peers are going on, seemingly having all the fun. And you already decided today, I believe I'm going to quit. I'm not standing by no biblical principles no longer. I wish I had some help here. All of the things my parents have taught me, all of the things my grandparents have taught me, all the things my Sunday school teacher have taught me, I'm going to walk away from it. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to give up. Well, young person, let Pastor Reed tell you. If you've already decided to quit, I come by here today to tell you it's too soon to quit. I come by to tell you, young teenager, I come by to tell you, hang in there. I come by to tell you, young teenager, the Lord has sent me to tell you, you can't quit. Too soon to quit. Maybe there's some single parent here. You feel like the life has dealt you a terrible blow. For some reason, you had to be mama and daddy. You've had to make all the decisions. You haven't had anybody to bounce your ideas off of. Nobody to support you. If you made the mistakes, and most certainly you've made mistakes. Am I right? There's somebody here right now trying to raise a child or trying to raise some children all by yourself. Do I have a witness here? And if you could get out of it, if you could get from under the load, if you this morning you would throw in the towel, you would quit, you would give up. And you know there are some who have given up. Somebody ought to help me here. There's some who've given up. There's some who will quit. There's some single parents who have dropped them off at grandma's house. Somebody ought to help me here. Do I have a witness here? Some who have turned them over, the children over to the state. Somebody ought to help me here. Because they were not willing to hang in there. They were not willing to continue on, and they decided to give up. But I come to tell you, young parent, it's too soon for you to quit. Yeah. Don't give up on those children. Don't give up on that boy. Don't give up on that girl. Don't give up on that baby. It's too soon to quit. You got to hang in there. Somebody looking at me right now, your marriage is in trouble. Do I have a witness here? The more you try to do the right thing, the more you try to be a child of God, you got to fight to come to church. You got to argue before you can get out of the house. Somebody ought to help me here. Am I right? And you're tired. You're tired of being called out of your name. Somebody ought to help me here. Oh, y'all act like ain't nothing that going on. Am I right? Yeah, you're tired of mentally being abused and physically being abused. You're tired. You're harder. You pulled in one direction. Seemingly the harder they pulled in another direction. And you ask the question, Lord, how long? How long can I stand this? How long can I bear this? How long can I hold on and hold out? How long? And you arrived at church today with your mind already made up. That next month, in February or March or April, do I have a witness? I'm going to quit. And I'm going to walk out of this mess. Somebody ought to help me here. Well, married couple, single couple, man or woman, the Lord told me to tell you today is too soon. Somebody ought to help me here. It's too soon to quit. God wants some glory out of your situation. Through it all, He wants to be glorified. Somebody, am I right? It's not about you. It's all about Him. Through it all, keep glorifying His name. Through it all, keep on praising Him. Through it all, keep on shouting hallelujah. Through it all. Oh, Lord. You remember Job's wife, don't you? Anybody remember Job's wife? Job's wife tried to get Job to quit. Y'all remember here? Oh, look. He said, look at you, man. Look at you, man. Sores are all over your body. Look at you. You are a pitiful sight, Job. And you say your God loves you? You say your God cares for you? You say your God is concerned about you? Look at you. I don't know about you, Job. But if I were you, I'd quit. Job, if I were you, I would cuss God and die. Job, you ought to quit. Oh, God. Job said to her, listen, woman, I don't know about you, but you're talking like a crazy woman. You talking crazy. Job said it's too soon to quit. Though he slay me, I wish I had some help here. Though he slay me, yet will I trust him all the days of my appointed time. I'm going to wait until my change comes. Because it's too soon to quit. I can't quit now. I can't quit until the benediction is given. I can't quit until the period is placed. I can't quit until the curtains come down. I can't quit in chapter 14. I got to see what the end's going to be. It's too soon to quit. Oh, God, I feel like preaching, y'all. I feel like preaching today, y'all. God. Oh, God. Oh, some of us, listen, let me tell you something. Paul was defeated on the battleground of his own heart. Now, listen, I'm not criticizing you for wanting to quit, because when you come to that awful point in life where you want to quit, you're in good biblical company. You remember after Elijah had won that contest up on Mount Carmel, he ran from that experience and stopped under a Jupiter tree. And he wanted to quit. Y'all, do I have any Bible students? Y'all remember Jeremiah, don't you? Jeremiah tried to quit. He tried to surrender his credentials. And listen to Jeremiah saying, because of what I've been through, I'll not make mention of the name of the Lord anymore. I'm through with this preaching stuff. I'm through with this function. I'm through. My last sermon has been delivered. But Jeremiah couldn't quit. Jeremiah reports himself that his word was in my heart as a burning fire. And Jeremiah said it was shut up in my bones. He says I was serious about quitting, but his word was in my heart. I had no option in the matter. I'm still his preacher. I'm still his servant. His word is in my heart. And it's like a burning fire. Well, can a child of God really quit? Do I have a witness? I'm not talking about y'all are not children of God. I'm talking about a child of God here. I'm talking like my grandmother would say, a shown up. I'm talking about a shown up child of God. I'm talking about a shown up, born again Christian. Can a Christian really quit? Can a disappointed, dejected Christian really quit? Can a Christian really throw in the towel, y'all, and say, Lord, I'm finished, I'm not going no further? Well, I come by to tell you I'm afraid not. No. We have the can't help it. Y'all don't know nothing about the can't help it, don't you? As children of God, we have the can't help it. Am I right? We can't quit. You see, because I found out you cannot terminate what God has initiated. Somebody ought to help me. Am I right? If you are a servant of God, you don't have that prerogative. If you are, am I right? Anybody who can walk away from serving God walked into it on their own. But if the Lord got a hold on you, somebody ought to help me here. Now, you don't know what I'm talking about if he has not having a hold on you. If the Lord has shown up, got a hold on you, y'all, you can't really quit. You got to hang in there. You got to stay with it. I don't care who tries to destroy you. I don't care who talks about you. I don't care. Do I have a witness here? I don't care who runs you down. If the Lord, if God has really got a hold on you, nobody, nothing can turn you around. Oh, God. Oh, have mercy here. Oh, Paul got to that point, y'all. Wanted to quit. But you know, just as Paul lifted his hand to quit, God came to him. And I guess that's what Grandma was talking about. When she said he may not come when you want him, but he's always right on time. He's been waiting for the Lord, and he really couldn't find him. But just as he lifted his hands to quit, the Lord came to him. And you know, if the Lord doesn't come, he'll send somebody. Do I have a witness here? He came to Moses on the backside of that mountain, came to Isaiah when his hero king died, came to Jesus out there in the Garden of Gethsemane. When Paul was down in Corinth and when Paul hit rock bottom, God came to his servant, am I right, and said, Paul, don't worry about hitting rock bottom, because when you hit rock bottom, you discover that I'm the rock at the bottom. Do I have a witness here? You cannot quit now. And I want y'all to know, and I'm trying to hurry up here. Got a few more things. Give me a few more minutes. But I want y'all to know today that I've discovered in life, if I haven't learned anything else, I've discovered that anybody can quit. That's one thing I've discovered. Anybody can quit. It does not take much to quit. Anybody can quit. It does not take any stick-to-itness. It does not take any staying power to quit. Anybody can quit. But it takes somebody to stay in there. It takes somebody to hang on. It takes somebody to hold out. Anybody can quit. Anybody can give up, y'all. Do you know what the difference is? Do you really know what the difference is between winners and losers? I've discovered that the difference between a winner and a loser is that winners major in doing things that losers don't like to do. Young people, take that with you in your life. Take that with your life. Listen, winners major in doing things that losers don't like to do. You see, what it is, winners majors in discipline themselves in areas that losers don't like to do. Do I have a witness here? You see, losers don't like to, losers lose because they don't like to practice. Losers lose choir because choir members don't like to rehearse. Somebody ought to help me. Do I have a witness here? That's in life. You see, if you really want to be a winner, do I have a witness? You got to learn how to discipline yourself. Do I have a witness here? If you want to be a good student, if you want to be a winner as a student, you got to study. Do I have a witness here? You can't be no good student hanging out in the hall. Somebody ought to help me here. No, you got to be in class. If you want to be a good student, if you want to win, if you want to have a good point average, if you really want to graduate, you got to study. Do I have a witness here? Any profession in life, if you really want to be a winner, you got to get in there and work hard, day in and day out. That's what Paul told Timothy. He said, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You've got to discipline yourself. Oh, God, well, a man said that he was sitting on his porch one day. He saw this bulldog walking down the hill. And the bulldog had a steady walk towards his house. He watched that bulldog marching towards his house. But there was a little feist that lived across the street from that bulldog. And he broke out of the house and headed towards that bulldog. And the man said the bulldog never changed his pace. Said that little feist ran up close, and yet he kept a healthy distance from the bulldog. And he just started circling that bulldog and barking at bulldog. The man said the bulldog never looked at the feist. The bulldog just kept on walking. Said the feist snapped at the bulldog again, jumped at the bulldog, jumped back. That bulldog never looked back. The bulldog kept on walking. And down the road a little piece, that little feist turned around and trotted back to the house. But that bulldog just kept on walking. The man said he looked at that bulldog, and he looked at that little Feist, and he went back in his house and got on his knees, and he cried out to the Lord, said, Lord, whatever that bulldog got, that's what I want. Somebody else, that bulldog had some dog determination. Do I have a witness here? And I want you to know, my brothers and sisters, that all through life, watch me, there are going to be some little Feists snapping at you. Do I have a witness here? Every move you make, there's always some little Feists. Am I right? They're the Feists of lying tongues. They're the Feists of criticism. They're the Feists of false friends. Am I right? But Lord, I pray every day, whatever that bulldog got, is that what I want? I tell the Lord, help me not to center my attention on the Feists of life. Am I right? If you center your attention on the Feists of life, you're already defeated. Do I have a witness here? You see, criticism can't defeat you. Do I have a witness here? Lying tongues can't defeat you, y'all. Gossip cannot defeat you. False friends cannot defeat you. Do I have a witness here? If you keep your eyes on the Lord, am I right? I can't quit here. I wish I could. I wish I had time to work this out, but I'll do it another time. Hold me, Holy Ghost. Am I right? I just want to give you a couple of reasons why we tend to quit. We saw why Paul wanted to quit because of failure, fatigue, and frustration. But a lot of times we decide to quit because as we're working on what we start, we get a vision of how we can do something better. We lose the art of learning how to finish what we started. We see a new opportunity, we gain a new vision, therefore we desert and leave unfinished that which we have started in order to go and work on something else. But I want to say to you today, when you're constantly leaving that which you're working on and leaving it unfinished to start on something that appears to be better, all you have to profit from your experience is the knowledge of learning how to quit. And when you keep on increasing your knowledge of learning how to quit, you develop the habit of quitting. And some folk I know, the best thing they know is how to quit. There are some folk who are what I call professional resigners. Do I have a witness here? They resign from everything. Anything they're placed on, any responsibility that they are given, they resign from it. Am I right? Now, I know the reason why we quit. First of all, we quit because we see something better. Another reason is we don't see any hope at all. Well, I might as well quit. Ain't nothing going to change. I might as well quit. She's never going to be the kind of person I wanted to be. She's never going to be the wife. He'll never be the husband I wanted to be. So I might as well quit. We don't see any hope at all. But you don't fall out with a day because it's cloudy. Y'all didn't hear me. Do I have a witness here? No. It's sometimes the clouds hide the sun, but the sun is still shining. Do I have a witness here? And many times you never see the end until you walk through the cloud. You got to learn how to hang in there because you see the Lord is saying to us today, if you learn how to hold on, I'll help you carry on. Do I have a witness here? Well, the Lord told Paul, I am with you. That's what I want to close here today. I feel like celebrating because the Lord said, I am with you. And what I like about it, that's the promise of God's presence. You shouldn't quit today, brother. You shouldn't quit today, sister, because the Lord has promised us. Do I have a witness here? And I don't know how you feel about it, but one thing I'm doing is I'm standing on the Lord's promise. Yeah, I'm getting older in life, and you are too. Do I have a witness here? There are a lot of things that I used to could do. No, y'all, it no matter about it. I know that I cannot do what I used to do. Do I have a witness here? I can't run as fast as I used to run. Do I have a witness? I can't even walk as fast as I used to walk. Somebody ought to help me here. And I cannot see as well as I could 10 years ago. Somebody ought to help me here. And when you look at me, you see some changes in me. Somebody ought to help me. When you look at my hair, I remember when I had a Jerry curl. Somebody ought to help me here. Yeah, and I remember when I had all black hair hanging. Somebody ought to help me here. Do I have a witness here? I remember very vividly when I didn't have any bald spots nowhere in my head. Do I have a witness? And I also remember when I didn't have no medication. Y'all not gonna help me here. Do I have a witness here? I remember, y'all, when I didn't have no high blood pressure. Am I right? And do I have a witness here? I remember when I wasn't a diabetic. And I'm right here. Do I have a witness here? But I want to tell y'all that all of that has changed now. Do I have a witness? I've got medication for the day and medication for the night. Do I have, y'all know what I'm having? Somebody know what I'm talking about. Do I have a witness here? Because if I check these purses right now, if I check these pocketbooks right now, I'll find all kind of medication. Do I have a witness here? And don't let nobody fool you. I don't care how they tell you how good you look. Do I have a witness here? Don't let nobody fool you. You don't look like you looked 25 years ago. No, you don't. Do I have a witness here? Am I right? And I tell you, I decided, y'all, that I'm just going to live on and trust in the Lord. Do I have a witness here? Because he promised, didn't he promise? He promised me one thing. It makes no difference how sick I become. It makes no difference how crippled I am. It makes no difference about my eyesight. He's promised, didn't he promise? He promised, I'll be with you. Do I have a witness here? I'll be there when you're sick. I'll be there when you're lonely. I'll be there when you're friendless. I'll be there when you can't see your way. I'll be there when burdens are on your shoulders. I'll be there when problems are all in your life. I'll be right there when your heart is broken. I'll be there when tears are in your eyes. I'll be there. Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah! Yeah! Oh! Won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah! Won't he do it? He'll walk with you. He'll talk with you. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!